10. Start. Hey, Castle Law customers and investors, future Castle Law customers, investors. It's been a couple weeks. I've been out in Boston and Cape Cod, but I'm back now, and the real estate market in Chicago is still extremely hot. To get deals done, we obviously need money. Today, I have John Andrews, who is the regional director for Fund That Flip. I'm not sure exact title, but I'm going to call it regional director. And John is a very good friend of mine. I've known him for a number of years. My clients have used Fund That Flip. I have represented Fund That Flip. I can attest to the kind of stuff that Fund That Flip can provide. And here's what's very unique about Fund That Flip. Fund That Flip has got a national platform. They've got a lot of money to lend. But literally, when you want to talk to the people who are making things happen at Fund That Flip, I have John Andrews' cell phone. They're still boutique. They still have the nimbleness to do deals. They can do things that are straight down the center of the plate. And that's why I like to refer Fund That Flip to my customers. Hey, John, welcome.
Gary, thank you. I really appreciate you having me this morning. Excited to reach some of your base here in Chicago.
Awesome. And so, John, kind of give me the background on Fund That Flip. What made you guys decide to create this company? What's kind of your basic core values?
Yeah, so I'll start with the first part of that question, Gary. What made us start the company? So the two founders of the firm were real estate operators themselves. One, Matt Rodak, who's the CEO and founder, was doing a lot of flips in the Northeast, New England, Rhode Island, condos. So a little bit of everything as he worked a kind of W-2 job in the finance and insurance world. And then the other co-founder was a Long Island-based New York City Wall Street guy who was doing everything from purchasing tax liens to building spec homes and kind of everything in between. So between the two of them, they saw an opportunity to leverage technology to bring a more transparent and easier funding opportunity to real estate developers like themselves. And when the Jobs Act got passed in 2012 that allowed for a real estate platform like ours to exist online, they jumped on it and started the company. So very direct answer to your question, kind of built by investors for investors, based out of their own need from experience in funding deals.
That's awesome. And John, I think you've been there almost from the inception, haven't you?
Yeah, I was the fourth guy on board, so I've been with us for the better part of 3 years now, and it's been great. So it's a new industry across the board. There's other shops like ours, but bringing kind of the ability to source capital online is something that just became kind of greenlit, if you will, by the government end of 2012, and people started doing it in 2013. So you're talking about an industry that's more or less 5 years old. So still a lot of room, I think, to grow and move, but ultimately better align and serve the developers across the country, really, that are looking for capital to do their deals.
And what distinguishes Fund That Flip from maybe some of the other hard money lenders? 6-7 years ago, we had tons and tons of inventory in the Chicagoland area. I was representing hedge funds, private equity groups, buying assets all over the country. A lot of it had to be cash buyers because there wasn't funding available. What's kind of changed in the landscape in the last few years? I mean, it seems like now there's a lot of lenders, but not as much inventory. So what's really the driving force behind Fund That Flip distinguishing themselves from other hard money lenders, and why would people want to seek out Fund That Flip?
Sure. Gary, I think you hit the nail on the head when you started the presentation, speaking to the heat of the Chicago real estate market. Of course, there's a lot of lenders now and no inventory. That's what lenders do, right? Lenders want to lend money when it's safe and no one needs it because there's an abundant abundance of capital in the market, and as soon as there's a need and opportunity, lenders pull back. That's been the lending industry for the history of time. That being said, I think that's what makes us unique. So there's a lot of lenders out there. There's some great lenders. There's a lot of firms that do a very good job, and at the end of the day, we recognize that money's green everywhere. So how can we be flexible in structuring our debt piece to best meet the needs of the borrower? And then ultimately, can we service that and be a true partner for that person? At the end of the day, it's going to be a relationship. Can we make it work for both parties? So I think that what's changed is exactly what you said, that we're in an appreciating market. We have been for some time. So lenders see that, and there's an appetite to jump into that. What we've done that I think makes us a little bit unique and allows us some of that flexibility is we've sourced capital from a lot of different places. So when you come to us and we agree to do a deal and fund a deal for you, we will fund that off balance sheet. So when I tell you, yes, we're moving forward and we're going to lend you X dollar amount, we're writing the check for that. On the back end of our business, we will source capital from accredited investors. So the kind of we would consider retail, guy that's trading on his computer, much like he would an E-Trade account that likes to put money on our platform. So essentially a private lender that wants to spread his risk across multiple transactions and multiple geographic locations. We have institutional partners. We have whole loan buyers, insurance companies, hedge funds, family offices. Our theory being that as we keep a diverse back end capital stack, that if and when, and we believe it's a when, the market corrects or things change, as some lenders will pull back because they have one source of capital whose appetite will dictate what they can lend. We feel like we've got a robust back end in terms of varying appetites for lending. And we think we'll be well positioned not only today to lend money when everyone likes lending, but on a go forward when things kind of might shift a little bit and there's a tremendous buying opportunity for the really strong developers out there. And then I think to that point, Gary, what distinguishes us is flexibility because of some of that variance and kind of how we source our capital, and the fact that we take a great deal of pride in being kind of built by investors and developers and operators to serve those people. We'll take the time to consider and understand every aspect of the deal and see if we can find a path forward that works for everyone. Really kind of not interested in being the box checking firm that just says, do you meet these 6 criteria? Yes, let's lend, 60, 70% of the value of your property. We want to understand, hey, what are you really looking to accomplish here and how can we help you do that? And if we can build something that works for you, we're not opposed to considering anything and as long as it makes sense moving it forward.
And you were telling me before we hopped on here when Karen, my client services liaison, was trying to get us talking live. You actually have a piece where you can do ground up development, or a lot of my clients now, in Chicago, they're doing tear downs. They're doing complete ground up builds. So kind of tell me a little bit more about that, because I know a lot of lenders don't do that.
Yeah, Gary, that's a great point. So we've seen that. You've seen it. You've seen it from your clients in Chicago. I know that because we talked to some of them and have been at some of those different RIA meetings where that's been expressed. But the market's tight right now from an inventory perspective. It's hard to buy that property with enough meat on the bone to do a kind of standard rehab and get it back on the market. So a lot of our developers, they can't sit idly by and wait. So they're creating value and they're doing those ground up construction projects, or buying the old home in the desirable neighborhood and knocking it down, what we would consider a scrape, and putting a new one on that lot. So they're creating value. They're doing the true value add. Frankly, it's just more risk to the lender. So a lot of lenders won't, whether it's a bank, a hard money lender, or even a private lender. There's not a lot of them that have a great deal of comfort doing that. You can find it. You can find that money. You can find that loan. The question is, have they done enough of them to have a streamlined process to service that? We take a great deal of pride in the fact that we think that we do. But the risk there, Gary, is once you have that piece of dirt, whether you're knocking down a home or picking up a vacant lot, there's only so many guys that have the expertise to take that from vacant land to finished product and then ultimately get that. So there's only so many guys. We're fortunate to know you, so you would be able to point us in the direction of some of those guys, but there's only so many of them that are capable and have the appetite for tackling that type of project with the permitting, the construction time frame, the execution of that. So we've kind of listened to our investors. One of the first ones was actually a guy that you introduced us to and we had lunch with a few years ago. And he said, hey, look, I need to start taking the roofs off of houses and going up a second level. I need to start doing new. Can you help me? I can't find someone that can help me. So we listened. We explored his track record and his plan, and we said yes, and have continued to do that. Continue to do that to date.
So, so guys, if this isn't sinking in for you, I want you to, I always considered myself a young guy, but now I'm working with John and some of these guys. These guys are younger than me. I'm now an old guy, and so what they've done is, I kind of in that middle area where I'm more relationship than technology, but yet I can do these webinars, so I'm not doing so hot. I'm not doing so bad. But these guys have really taken technology, bringing things to your computer, online applications, with being able to pick up the phone and have a live conversation with someone. So if you're somebody that doesn't like tech, these guys can work with you. If you're someone that really, really likes tech, these guys can work with you. They're very, very nimble, very, very good. John, I'm going to put you on the spot here a second. We didn't talk about this. I know you're called Fund That Flip, but we've talked about that you guys are either currently doing or maybe are in the process of putting together product for other types of loans as well. Where are you guys at in that process?
Yeah, Gary, great question. I appreciate you bringing it up. The market has dictated a lot of people moving towards, as we just spoke about, the true value adds and the ground up, and then also a lot of rental opportunity. So people acquiring everything from single families up through large apartment style properties, large unit properties, and holding them as rentals. So we've kind of developed a perspective through working with some of our clients around the single family to 4-unit rental space. So we've built some products around being the bridge capital for anywhere from kind of 3 to 18 months, and we're flexible, so we can kind of give or take there a little bit on being the bridge to help you acquire a property, whether it's whether you're acquiring it for a portfolio and you're acquiring something that's in really bad shape that needs a full gut rehab to be livable and rentable, whether it's something that needs a cosmetic rehab and just kind of needs stabilized, better quality tenant in there, up the rent, or acquiring something that's a cash flowing asset. We're kind of comfortable with all three of those. If you're looking to kind of truly build a portfolio and aggregate those rental properties, and then also eager to help you on the back end source that capital that you'd ultimately use as the long-term leverage, kind of more conventional bank financing, longer-term debt, as you have your kind of portfolio performing the way you want it, and you go to get that permanent financing. And I think Gary, if you're still doing the one-off, if you're just doing the one rental property, I would never walk away from the business. I'm happy to help, but I think you've done a good job of this, of helping those clients understand, hey, if you're just doing one, like finding that conventional lender right off the bat, so you just get the kind of cheaper cost of capital, longer term loan, one closing is great. But we have, for example, a gentleman that's doing some stuff kind of from Bronzeville down south into South Chicago from a rental portfolio perspective. Over a period of a couple of years, he said, look, I'm going to buy everything that fits my model, and I need someone to help me acquire. And I've proven that I can kind of get the refi once it's there, but can someone trust me to do some pretty large rehabs? And at the same time, if I can pick up a cash flowing asset to supplement that, I want that too. We said yes, and so we've lent him pretty significant chunk of money over the course of the past 2 years to just go into rapid acquisition mode and then do the takeout later. So we've done some of those things and continue to every day, Gary. If someone has something that makes sense and has a good idea, we'll try like heck to fund it. And if we can't, we'll tell them quickly and maybe point them in the direction of one of the capital partners that we might know, either Wall Street or across the country, that would have an appetite for funding something like that.
And so for those of you who are just getting started, or even some experienced investors, What John is really saying is they're providing that bridge. So if you have an asset that you need to close on, get a hold of me. We'll get you in touch with John, and we have lenders that can do that takeout back end loan to portfolio the properties, or just put that property once it's stabilized and cash flowing. Because some of these lenders aren't going to want a property that's not stabilized and cash flowing. John can provide the funding up front for you to get the property fixed up, cleaned up, stabilized, and then we can get you over to another lender that's going to be a long-term play. And I think I've introduced John to a couple of those people locally here, and I know John's got his own relationships. And what's great about Fund That Flip, and what's great about John, I've found, is just like how I operate, if I can't do it, I don't just say no. If John just can't do it, he doesn't say no. He's going to get you to somebody that can. And if it's not something that he thinks is best for Fund That Flip, he's going to get you over to somebody that he thinks is good for you, because he's a relationship guy. That's what this business is all about. Even though we're in a fast-paced world, a fast-paced industry, even though Fund That Flip is a technology-based company built on that platform, there's a lot of technology-based companies, yet there's not the person behind the computer screen. And that's very, very unique about you, John. I commend you. It's a really cool thing that you've done.
Gary, can't thank you enough. Appreciate all the kind words, and echo the same sentiments. It's crucial for us to have the proper counsel, both for ourselves and our borrower. You've been instrumental in that, and that just makes kind of the whole world go round. If you're a investor listening to this and you're kind of not engaged with Gary or someone with his level of expertise, like, you're doing yourself a tremendous disservice in trying to close deals without it. So we kind of feel the same way about you, Gary, and appreciate all the kind words and having us on today. This has been awesome.
In a 5 minute, so you guys literally, it's just an online application, takes 5 minutes. It's, I know when I am buying, commercial assets, medical office buildings and residential properties, and, you have to fill out this huge personal financial statement. I feel like I have to set aside 3 days to go through all this stuff. You've got a 5 minute online application process. Obviously, you're going to need tax returns and proof that somebody has the ability to repay the money. But, 5 minutes online, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and actually, to that point, we may or may not need returns. Vast majority of our loans don't require them. For us, it's a trust and verify process. So you give us some information, we're going to trust that what you gave us is accurate. We'll do the initial due diligence and say, hey, this looks like something we can help with. Looks like it's in our wheelhouse. We'll get on the phone with you, understand the full story, understand what we may or may not need to collect from you. But the goal is let's get to the quick yes or no, as opposed to getting that lengthy application and it being a no on the second line of the application. But you took the time, as you just said, you took the 3 days to fill out the whole thing and send it over, and the lender, he's a no on line number 2. We'd rather find that out by collecting 2-3 lines of information, assuming that it's correct, and then kind of buttoning it up on the back end as we continue to develop more of the story. Just trying to be smart about it. Time is money for all these listeners, and so if we can save them a few minutes of time of getting them to a yes, or saying, hey, not for us, maybe you should check here, we think that's kind of the right way to go about it.
So for my clients who want to get in touch with Fund That Flip, here's the information here. You can take it down. Obviously, if you're watching this webinar, you can pause the screen and get that information. Go right online. You can do an online application. I can vouch for John, even though he's a Cleveland Browns fan. That's got to be. You're a Browns fan, right?
No, I'm in Cleveland, but mom's side of the family is from Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's right. You're a Steeler fan.
Yeah, so
that's right. Okay, so John's not such a bad guy after all. I had my Cleveland Browns joke going in here, but I forgot he's a fellow Steeler like me.
We do have an office in Cleveland, Ohio, Gary. It's our largest office. about double the number of people that we have in our New York office. We can see the Browns stadium from the office. So the factory of sadness, as they call it here in Cleveland, is within sight.
Okay, so I think that's John's way of saying, even though they're based out of New York, for those of us here in the Midwest, we can trust these guys because they're Ohio. That's close enough to the Midwest. They can both try to be East Coasters and Midwesterners at the same time. Hey, John, always good talking to you. Thanks for coming on. Hopefully we'll see you out here soon at one of the RIA meetings or at a Cubs game or something, and we'll talk soon, all right?
Thanks, Gary. Really appreciate it, and keep up the good work on your end. We appreciate that partnership very much.
Thanks so much.
Take care.